Like we said, you're not going to just watch a movie, you're going to maybe have dinner. You're maybe going to have a nice, relaxing drink to watch your movie that you're watching. And so these little things really can help push the envelope of the experience.
This is the Box Office Podcast, the pulse of theatrical exhibition. I'm Chad Kennerk, joined by my colleague at Box Office Pro, Rebecca Pahle. We're going to be going over the July preview, all the films coming to cinemas. And later in our episode, our colleague Daniel Loria will be joining us in his conversation with Jack Powers of Irwin Seating. I didn't make it out to the movies this weekend, Rebecca. Did you?
I did, and I'm thinking on terms of seating. Neither of the seats were reclined. I don't know. But partially after listening to last week's episode that you and Daniel were on and like kind of trying furiously to avoid any 20 years later.
I was trying to keep you
I was
from
trying
spoilers.
to do edit notes, but also simultaneously not listen. So I caught that. I really enjoyed it. I went with Eric and he did not so much enjoy it, but I had a good time with it. And then that was at the AMC Times Square. And then on Friday at Film Forum, I went to see a movie I had never seen before ever in my life, Apocalypse Now. Because I'd started watching it at some point and it just wasn't like, sometimes you start watching something and it's not that you don't like it, it's just not the right time. Like your head's not in it. And I'm like, they do one cut or another of Apocalypse Now. They bring something to theaters like every 2 years. So I'll just wait.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, the original theatrical cut shows up at Film Forum. So is it weird to say that although like Apocalypse Now definitely is a better movie, I think I enjoyed 28 Years Later more. It's a funnier film.
Yeah, that's true. It is. Did you see that Rialto Pictures is re-releasing a 4K version of the documentary diving into the behind the scenes of
No, they
Now?
showed the trailer for that.
Oh, nice.
For it, Hearts of Darkness.
Yeah. I haven't seen that. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, we might end up going. They're screening the Seven Samurai in a little bit also as well. And that's one that like Eric has never seen, and he wants to go and see it like in a theater. So we're trading back and forth with filling in our movie canon. And speaking of movie canon, of the grand old traditions of the film, in news this week, we do have a new director for one of the most storied franchises in film history. Denis Villeneuve will be directing the next Bond film.
I'm excited about this news because I'm a big fan of Villeneuve. You know, we knew earlier this year, Amy Pascal and David Heyman, the veteran producers of Amy Pascal did the Tom Holland Spider-Man films, and of course, David Heyman did the Harry Potter films. So very storied industry producers stepping in, and we didn't know, where this franchise was going to go, but Villeneuve making the announcement that he'll be the next director.
Nice. And this is for Amazon MGM. Thinking back to Dune, parts 1 and 2 of Dune, I mean, those, I don't know if I'd even want to watch either of them on the small screen. They're so good.
They're movies made, for a big screen. There was news within the story. They were talking about how he originally said back in a 2021 podcast episode that he would deeply love to make a James Bond film someday. So sounds like a dream come true.
I would deeply love one day to be hired for a job where I get 6 figures for watching movies and eating cheese.
Let it be so.
I would deeply like the Mets to win the World Series.
There you go.
Not looking great.
We also had some other industry news. Cineplex CEO Ellis Jacob is set to retire at the end of 2026. Longtime president and CEO there.
Yeah. It'll be a big change. I mean, he's been with the company forever. He really helped shepherd it to being it has in the past, and the future is involved with like digital signage and amusement games and entertainment centers. Really a mini tentacled octopus of Canadian entertainment. As you said, he's not retiring until the end of next year. So we'll have some time to ponder his legacy, and I'll be interested to see who is filling his shoes then, because they're big shoes to fill.
Yeah, kind of nice that he has some time to shepherd that next chapter.
Everyone's asking, what's next for cinema? What's the new thing? We've been watching films forever, and the medium's constantly changing, whether it's the type of stories we tell or the technology we use to tell them. The upcoming new technology from Christie called VDR enhances their existing CineLife real laser projectors with advanced contrast and better energy efficiency. The vivid, dramatic darks, brights, and colors stand out as a striking new reason to go to the theater. At this level of contrast, there's an extra sense of emotional connection with a film. It's a must-see for moviegoers once it debuts later this year. Christie also demonstrated VDR's capability of reducing energy consumption with an aim at sustainability and longevity. If you're curious about this upcoming technology, you can find out more at christiedigital.com/VDR.
We're going to talk about July 4th box office. We're predicting for the July 2nd release of Jurassic World Rebirth, and then further on into July. But before we get that, a brief little sojourn into last week's box office, aka in my head, I still say Mithrigan. It's Megan 2.0. Mithrigan
Yeah.
2.0.
Yeah.
Chad, yeah, how did we do on this one?
Daniel and I were talking about that this was going to be a difficult date for Megan, and that proved true. She did come in fourth with 10.2 domestically and 17.2 globally. So again, it seems like it was always going to be hard to reproduce that lightning in a bottle moment of the first Megan. It does seem like this may have been better in Q1.
It made me think of Ballerina. Like all previous John Wick movies were Q1 movies. And then to say, I'm going to plop this like dead in the middle of summer, it feels a little risky. And we see in both cases the risks didn't really pay off. And I like the movie, but I kind of wonder if 20 years later, like also would have done better as like a March release. I mean, thinking back to how quiet and dreary a Q1 we had.
Yeah.
And there were these films like, I mean, Megan 2.0 or Ballerina, would have gone to see. But now it's like, you're seeing Jurassic World Rebirth tomorrow. I'm seeing it the day after. Like, there's just a lot of stuff to go see, which I'm not complaining about, but like some things have to fall by the wayside.
Yeah. I mean, thankfully, we're getting to that point where there's so much at the cinema, at the theater to see. Hopefully, things will get spread out a little more in the next year.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, how like the success of the first Deadpool movie had everyone like, oh my God, like movies can do great in February.
Yeah.
Like they can do great in February. So you don't need to like move the sequels to June.
Right. Yeah. When there's a bunch of other things and a bunch of other sequels that people want to see.
And I know we won't be hearing from Daniel Loria until a bit later in this episode, speaking to Jack Powers of Irwin Seating. But even though he's not in this box office segment, he's so into Formula One. We have to break down the performance of F1, the movie here. I think he'd seen it multiple times.
It opened to 55.6 million domestically and 144 million globally. So race to the top. Friday had 25 million, Saturday 17.5, and Sunday 13.1. PLFs, of course, we were just talking about Daniel going to see this in PLF. It represented 55% of the business.
More than half of the people.
Yeah, more than half. Yeah.
And it shows that, this is distributed or created by, it's an Apple/Warner Brothers release, one of those. And it shows Apple, I maybe learned their lesson about how if you want people to come and see your movies in the theater, you have to market them. Because they definitely marketed it.
Yes, they definitely did. It was also great to see Tom Cruise out there on the carpet with Brad Pitt celebrating going to the movies and this film.
Yeah, because it was Joseph Kosinski who did Top Gun Maverick, right?
Right, and Jerry Bruckheimer producing.
There you go. I mean, that's a movie that seems like it like is a summer movie. That movie should be a summer movie.
Yeah.
And what else should be a summer movie? what else but dinosaurs? As we
Yeah.
said, so we're seeing it the next couple days. Jurassic World Rebirth hitting theaters July 2nd, leading into July 4th weekend. For this one, we have predicted a 3-day span of 80 to 100 million, 4-day span of 100 to 120, and 5-day 120 to 140. So, needless to say, I mean, this is always a very reliable franchise for
Hmm.
Warners. I feel like summer means you got to see some big, like Spielberg associated animals killing some folk.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Jurassic Park runs deep for me. That was a very seminal movie going experience for me at 8 years old to see that movie
Yeah.
opening weekend. And so, I'm gonna be there, no matter what. I think this one looks kind of in the vein of Jurassic Park 3, where it's sort of an adventure. How do we get off of the island situation?
Okay, that's interesting.
That's my take anyway. I don't know if it's true.
I was trying to think back. I don't think I've seen the most recent one, except for the clip that was in the AMC Nicole Kidman spot forever.
Right.
One shot. I've seen that many times, but I'll have to catch up because it was one of those with Eric and I. It was like, well, it's the new Jurassic World movie. Like you got to see it.
Hmm.
And moving forward into the rest of the big wide blockbuster tentpole releases coming out in July. This is a big one, another one that kind of feels essential, if only from a sense of curiosity. The new Superman, the Superman reboot from Warner Brothers, we'll be going into this film and previous iterations of Superman. In next week's episode, you can listen to Daniel and Russ Fisher go down the nerd rabbit hole on that. But Chad, are you excited for this one? What are your feelings on it? Because I'm like, I like some James Gunn movies, so
Yeah.
to go see it.
Yeah, I think I'm at the point where I'm feeling a little bit of superhero fatigue, but the films coming out this summer could get me back. So I'm interested to see where they take DC and what they set up with this film.
This is definitely a pivotal moment because they already have several films planned out. Superman coming out on July 11th. Right now, we're saying 120 to 130 million. Well, you were at CinemaCon. I wasn't because of
Yeah.
COVID. There really wasn't much of any.
Warner Brothers spent a lot of time on their presentation for Superman, but I think we went in thinking this is going to be the summer of Superman. It's going to be everywhere.
You're going to
And
see like a 20, 25 minute.
yeah, so they spent a lot of time in their presentation. We just didn't see it represented as much at the Coliseum, I guess, as we thought we would.
I'm excited to hear the word of mouth on it. The word of mouth for me might be what takes it from I'll see it on week 2 or week 3 to, oh, I want to go see this
Yeah.
on IMAX before it's not on IMAX anymore or opening weekend.
Hmm. It's so interesting that we're in this place where both Marvel and DC are kind of hitting the reset button a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had a friend that was remarking that they're bringing the original Spider-Man trilogy back to cinemas and
From Fathom
how,
Entertainment. Yeah, they have
yeah,
1, 2, 3.
yeah, he was so excited to go see that. And I feel a little bit like the Superman reboot is kind of pulling in some of those more comic book elements. It looks a little more colorful, a little more bigger aliens, creatures.
A little more like of a hopeful vibe. I mean, I know
Yeah.
the Zack Snyder version, he had to like watch dad Kevin Costner get, I don't know, he got killed because a bus ran into him during a tornado. I don't remember, but it was a little bit more like grim.
Yeah. So yeah, I feel like maybe that's some of the shift that we're going to start seeing rather than these really dark epic. Maybe they're going to start becoming a little more fun.
Little proper popcorn movie.
Yeah.
And we will be speaking more about the MCU in a few minutes. But before we get to that, Superman comes out July 11th. The next week, July 18th, comes Smurfs. What are we on tracking wise for that one?
Right now we have a 3-day, we're looking at 14 to 22. So we'll see where that goes as we get closer to release. It is a packed slate. There's a lot out there. So we'll see if this can capture the family audience.
Maybe will turn out being a good thing that, I mean, How to Train Your Dragon did really well. Hopefully,
Yeah.
kind of expose people to some of the marketing. I'm going to be honest, I don't really know, like, do kids know what Smurfs are? Like, I know what Smurfs are because
Yeah.
the TV show on with Gargamel.
Right. Well, I will say my sister's family is planning to see this, and my niece is pretty young and she seems excited about it. So, yeah, I don't know.
We have another kids movie a couple of weeks after that in August, The Bad Guys 2. So hopefully,
Yeah, it has a little bit of
this
room.
seems like smart placement for Smurfs.
Yeah, it does.
And actually, also that weekend, there are two other movies coming out that weekend in wide release, and it's a beautiful, perfect counter-programming blend of opposites attract. We have Smurfs. We have from Ari Aster Edington, which from what everyone's been saying, it's more of the Beau is Afraid mode than it is like a straightforward horror movie like Hereditary or Midsummer. And then we have some 90s reboot nostalgia with the I Know What You Did Last Summer reboot, all coming out on the 18th. So there's something for everyone.
I can't wait to see this reboot of I Know What You Did Last Summer, because
Was that one a big one for you, or was it?
yeah, it was. I feel like it was one of those early horror movies that I had on VHS that I watched all the time. I don't know if I saw it in the theater, but I definitely like had the VHS.
I'd never seen Final Destination Bloodlines. Was that for me, where like I'd seen it, but I'd never seen one single Final Destination on the big screen. It's like, here's to see it in a big crowd.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I feel like they could definitely spin this off in the way that Paramount has done with Scream, and making it something that has that nostalgia for the audiences of a certain age, but also captures a new generation of fans.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm excited for that one. Edington, I'm morbidly curious.
Yeah, it got very mixed reactions from Cannes. So, you never know what that means. I think the idea of watching a pandemic movie and one that's dealing with more of the real life anxieties and horrors, I'm open to it. I don't know if I'm ready for it.
So for Edington, coming out on the 18th, we have that at 3 to 5 million. Smurfs, we have that at 14 to 22 million. And to close out July, you mentioned it before, Chad, a kind of a reboot for Marvel, The Fantastic Four First Steps. This one's interesting for me because, like, I know to all the people who are more into like the super fans of the comics, like I know that this is a huge deal. Like the first family of Marvel, like this is a big,
Yeah.
But it looks from the trailers, it looks like a fun retro movie.
I like the retro aspect to this. I want to see what it's building up. It's interesting that this is maybe the one franchise, the one set of characters that have struggled in the past, have been very successful, and have also struggled. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see where this falls.
Yeah, this is already the summer of Pedro Pascal.
Yeah.
The most charismatic human on the face of the planet. He's going to put in the work on the press junket there. We have that one at 100 to 120 million coming out the final weekend of July 25th. Again, check back on boxofficepro.com. We'll be revising our predictions as we get closer to release dates. And when I say we, I mean our forecasting panel of professional executives who actually work in the exhibition industry and know what they're talking about. You're not listening to our numbers. You're listening to the numbers of people who know. Chad and I, we've been sitting here trying to figure out what's the good podcast transition from Fantastic Four to seating. Do we have a transition? Maybe not. Chad, what do we have coming up next?
Yeah, so next after the break is Daniel Loria's conversation with Jack Powers of Irwin Seating.
Irwin Seating has been building and installing seating solutions in schools, stadiums, concert halls, and cinemas for 119 years. So it's safe to assume they've seen a thing or two. And safer still to assume that Irwin not only has the products you need, they have the experience, knowledge, and know-how to solve whatever problem you have that needs solving, regardless of the size of your cinema or your problem. To learn more about what Irwin has learned about cinema in the last 119 years, visit irwinseating.com.
And we are back here on the Box Office Podcast. In this segment, speaking with Jack Powers, the multimedia designer over at Irwin. Jack, welcome to the Box Office Podcast. First time having you guys here.
Thanks, Daniel. Yeah, it feels good to be here. We've had a great relationship with you guys in the past number of years, and it feels good to get on the podcast here and talk to you directly.
Absolutely. The Irwin Box Office magazine connection goes back decades, so we know what's up here. But in case our listeners are hearing from you for the first time, could you give us a little bit of background on Irwin as an organization and the type of products that you guys develop?
Absolutely. Yeah. Here at Irwin, we position ourselves as human-centered seating solution provider that enhances the experience for shared spaces for nearly 120 years. From schools to worship centers to iconic stadiums and historic theaters. We offer a full service approach, guiding clients through the most effective design, customization, manufacturing, installation, and ongoing care, all backed by extensive expertise. Our product lines include fixed seating, telescopic systems, and modular components, allowing them to tailor solutions across environments like cinemas, sports venues, and performance halls. Above all, we pride ourselves on delivering comfortable, durable, and visually appealing seating that enhances the experience wherever it may be. So yeah, not just cinemas, Daniel, but stadiums, performing arts centers, maybe a local high school that you went to. We really kind of do it all.
It's an out-of-home destination provider for seating solutions. And I can vouch for that 120-year history you mentioned, because if you go back to the archives of Box Office magazine, Irwin seating ads are there. I mean, most of the decades that we've been around in business, so have you guys. And it's great to continue this conversation and this connection because as a company, Irwin has been able to see firsthand that evolution from single screen theaters to today's family entertainment center complexes, for example, right? What the modern cinema of today looks like, which is just vastly different from the business that you guys had back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Could you walk us through that evolution to where we are today in terms of seating for a movie theater?
Yeah, absolutely. It has come a long way, even from the 90s when I would go to the movies as a young kid. We've been at this for a long time, and Irwin was around, like you said, when the black and white screens were center stage and there were single auditoriums were the standard. Now we're seeing multi-screen theaters, bowling alleys, arcades, and so much more to help bring a fantastic experience to the moviegoer. And so when you go out for a night, maybe you want to have more than just a movie-going experience. You want to go throw the bowling alley down a lane or play some Pac-Man in the arcade to beat the guy's local high score. So we cater to that. We take pride in supplying seating to these multifaceted venues to bring in comfort and desire while you're watching something on the silver screen. So we adapt to what theaters are doing, and we take pride in knowing what's coming next to really help enhance the experience for the patron.
Now, one of your new seating solutions is called the Luna Premium Rocker. Can you talk to us about that product? Because right now, when it comes to options for exhibitors to upgrade their seating in their theaters, there's just so many ways that they can go. Go to any trade show in this industry. There's a lot of seating alternatives. So what makes the Luna Premium Rocker different from everything else in the market?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So our new Luna Premium Rocker is a play on the premium large formats. But what it is we now have a new chair with a tighter envelope. So if your auditorium has a capacity of X amount of people, we have now created a new seating product that allows us to put in more seats rather than our traditional recliners. So if you could once fit in 30 recliners, you can now maybe fit in 50 of the new premium Luna rockers.
And that's a huge development here in the seating world, because as we know, the big trade-off that exhibition had to make when we transitioned to recliners was capacity. In almost every auditorium in this country, a seating renovation means sometimes a pretty heavy capacity reduction. So a product like this, you can come in, you can install, have top of the line new seats without sacrificing as much capacity in any given auditorium.
Yeah, absolutely. And we understand that the recliners are very nice. We love the heated options, but this Luna rocker is just as comfortable. I had a great seat test a couple months back just to really test it out before I could start talking about it. And I watched an intense war movie, and the whole time I was so engaged because it was a comfortable sit. I knew that where I was putting me right in the direct eye line of what I wanted to watch, and it was perfect seating experience for me.
Now, what are some ways that Irwin uses to help enhance the movie-going experience in an auditorium?
With us selling our products, we also come up with a bunch of different accessories to help enhance that experience. And so one thing you might notice is swivel tables with our recliners. And so I know what's big for me is I go to a theater, I empty my pockets, whether I'm not eating or not. I throw everything out of my pockets so I can make sure I'm sitting in my recliner as comfortable as possible. So these tables allow me to put anything on there, whether it's food or beverage, whether it's my wallet or my keys.
I'm like you, by the way. I put my phone in the cup holder, but if I have a drink, you've got a decision to make, man.
Exactly. So it's great. And if you don't want it there, you just slide it to the right and then you got an open view. But with that, we've thought about different ways that these theaters are catering to us. And sometimes that literally means catering to us. They're bringing us popcorn, they're bringing us food maybe during that live showing. And we have lights underneath the table that don't get in the way of other people watching the movie, but allows us or allows the patron to maybe look at a menu, really enhancing that experience. Because like we said, you're not going to just watch a movie, you're going to maybe have dinner. You're maybe going to have a nice relaxing drink to watch your movie that you're watching. And so these little things really can help push the envelope of the experience. And of course, I can't talk about accessories without talking about the heated backs that Irwin provides in a lot of their seating options. So it's great.
Now, one of the things that I learned pretty quickly when covering this industry it was that the seating conversation happens in two divisions. There are seating options and seating solutions. Seating options is when you go in to a convention at a trade show, you look at the seat you want, you install it. Seating solutions is just as an important part to that conversation. What do I mean by that? How does seating help you clean an auditorium? What's the maintenance associated with that seat? And most importantly, what's the durability of that seat? Because I've been in theaters that if a seating investment doesn't go the right way, getting a replacement part or getting part of the fabric to ship out, that can slow you down. Can you talk about how Irwin addresses those challenges through your product line?
Yeah, absolutely. So with our human-centered design, we love to really evaluate what we are building and how we can learn from past experiences. And so one thing is the big cleaning opportunity. We know that operational managers are always trying to find ways to get that next movie going and to make sure that the theater is clean. So really with our ROR or our Recliner-Over-Riser, we have a new availability of opening that seat and seeing nothing but the riser that it's on. So instead of having to clean in between the cracks in the bars and the mechanisms, now it's an open area, so that cleaning is a lot quicker, seamless, and like you said, even the parts, a lot of our pieces go together from one recliner to another. So we're really streamlining the process, making it easier for operations or operation managers to go in and effectively make sure that the theater is ready to go for the next showing.
That really is crucial when you talk about a renovation, right? Making sure that you never have to have seats that are cordoned off. And that can really be a put off as an audience member going into a theater. You see 2-3 seats cordoned off for an extended period of time. So it's great to know that there are solutions out there to mitigate those risks, those challenges when you go to an auditorium, when you pick a seating provider. Now, another question I get a lot from exhibitors, especially independent exhibitors, is how long do I have to wait before upgrading my seating? Basically, how often does a theater or an auditorium need to implement new seats? Now, I know everybody has their own numbers to determine that. From your perspective, what's a good pace for exhibitors to keep in mind?
It seems like lately, as of trend, it's about a 10 to 12 year duration of these seating options. And so, just like technology, things change really quickly. And so, we realize that really now is the time, whether you are doing a new rebuild or just renovating that area, the 10 to 12 years, this is that time frame. And so, Irwin's here to help provide those seating solutions, whether you are doing a new rebuild or whether you're just doing a renovation. We have the options to get us in your theater and do it relatively quickly so that, like we said, we can get that next movie going and make sure that people keep coming in and enjoying the refreshments and popcorn and the movie.
Now, something that you've touched on, but I want to focus a little bit more on is the difference between a total rebuild, total renovation, or just a simple refresh, right? Just updating one or two elements in any given auditorium. Could you go into specifically the benefits of maybe installing riser-mounted seating options for cinemas, and when that would make sense for an exhibitor to make that sort of investment?
We know that there's a lot of costs with construction, and that when they are looking for a refresh, they need to decide whether it will be a complete rebuild or a brand new renovation of their current theater. And so we have an option for those theater owners that aren't ready to commit to a complete new rebuild. And that's why we've created this Recliner-Over-Riser option. We've allowed the theater owners to, instead of breaking down everything inside their theater, to build on those existing risers, so that instead of breaking down a certain area of their theater, they can now apply this new seating on top of their risers to then get their theater going even quicker, and to, like we said, have that cleaning option. So if they had something from 10 years ago that didn't quite have the cleaning capabilities as what they do now, it's perfect for them.
Now, I want to clarify this to our listeners that are probably trying to keep up if they're not familiar with the seating world and the seating game here. Could you go over the main differences between choosing, let's say, a premium rocker from your Luna line or a Spectrum recliner like you're speaking about right now? What are the main things to look out for in both those options?
Yeah, so we know that with the rocker, you're not going to get that full reclined seat. And as we talked earlier, it's really for one that can fit a little bit more capacity inside your theater. We do not shy away from comfort, so we always make sure that comfort is in the steadfast of that seating option. However, we then have our recliner options where people want to be able to sit in a bigger space. This is an area where people come in and want to enjoy a theater, or people come in and want to enjoy a movie in the comfort almost as if they're in their own home. And so that's where we come with these recliner options to give some more space, to allow these theaters to come in and make sure that the experience is great for them. And honestly, we've seen and have heard that some of the larger formats or the IMAX theaters may be going towards the recliner option because the people have been enjoying sitting in a recliner compared to some of the other options that have been out there.
You mentioned that I actually saw a movie in an IMAX auditorium with a full recliner option, which was actually the first time that I've had that experience. But I can tell you, as a moviegoer, I'm pretty split between both seating solutions, right? I like having a rocker in a PLF because I like to be able to buy the ticket for that premium auditorium. We know the demand for those premium auditoriums is huge. So having a higher capacity for your premium large format auditorium, using a rocker to save up on space, I think is great. And then I don't like calling standard auditorium standard. It makes sound less so, but putting in a recliner in what we would otherwise call a standard auditorium is a great way to premiumize it, to enhance it, so that the benchmark of a standard goes way up and you have your high capacity workhorse in your PLF house, while still having these luxury elements in what we would otherwise call a quote unquote standard seating arrangement. So I like to have those two options as a moviegoer. It's great to know that there are companies right now actively working and giving those options to exhibitors. So before we close here, Jack, this is a movies podcast. We talk seats. That's fine. We can talk seats all day. As a moviegoer yourself, what are you looking forward to catching here in the theater coming to you?
Yeah, Daniel, it's a hot summer, definitely, in terms of weather and what's coming out. And Brad Pitt is obviously in this new movie F1 that's coming out, and that one looks fantastic. I loved Top Gun, and I know that this one I think is going to deliver, but in more of a car-worthy fashion. So can't wait to see that, as well as Jurassic World. I mean, the lineup for what is coming out is fantastic, and that's why I'm in the business I'm in, is because I love being in the atmosphere of entertainment. And so Irwin can provide the patrons that are going to see these movies with that experience that they're wanting to go out and see. And so the next time you're at the theater, just remember what kind of seating option you're in and how comfortable you may or may not have been in it. And if you completely forgot that you were sitting in something comfortable like that, I think we were doing our jobs very right. So yeah, can't wait to see what's coming out there. And then even this fall is a great lineup to see some great movies.
You know, what you guys are doing is one of the reasons why I really like working in this industry today. People don't complain about seats anymore. That used to, remember back in the 90s when that was a point of conversation. Now, every time you come out of a theater, more often than not, people will say how comfortable the seats are. And that goes across the entire seating sector here, all of our partners, including Irwin. Fantastic job here. I think it's really helped make the movie-going experience relevant to audiences today, the work that you're all doing. So a big thank you from our part on that.
Thanks, Daniel. Yeah, and we'll try to get on this podcast a little bit more than once in a lifetime. So we can't wait to let you guys know what's coming up next and what to expect in the upcoming years.
We're looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
Thank you once again for joining us on the Box Office podcast. That was Daniel Loria in conversation with Jack Powers of Irwin Seating. Earlier, you heard from myself and Rebecca Pahle of Box Office Pro. Please join us again next week. Episodes are released every Thursday. We'll see you again real soon.